position overall. Martin Prokop is in third position, 1 minute 19.4 seconds adrift of the lead, with Julian Moran in fourth, Bernardo Sosa in fifth, and Herman Gassner Jr. in sixth position. And in terms of the WRC Academy, it's Craig Breen who leads over Yarai Lemesh by 26.3 seconds. Jose Suarez is in third position with Alistair Fisher in fourth. Brendan Reeves is fifth. That's the top 5 in the WRC Academy. That is the way things stand there. So let's just go back to the all-important gaps in the WRC, just to remind you of what they are. Ogier's lead over Petter Solberg is 5 seconds. And then we've got Danny Sordo, who's in third position. He's 1.6 seconds behind Solberg. Chris Meek is fourth overall, 21.6 seconds behind Sordo, with Mads Osberg in fifth position, 25.5 seconds adrift of Meek. Mikko Hirvonen is in sixth overall, 6.6 behind Osberg, with Jari-Matti Latvala in seventh, 19.6 behind Hirvonen. Then we've got the mini of Omundo Arujo in eighth, Dennis Kuipers is in ninth, and Ken Block is in 10th position overall. That is the way things stand then as we await the first stage of the afternoon. Now, the roads were slightly damp this morning, although some of the co-drivers we were talking to were saying, you know, the safety crews were saying that when they were going through first thing in the morning, it was drying out. We're expecting the roads to be bone dry now this afternoon, but under the trees, of course, it's still going to be damp. There's still going to be some very tricky areas out there, so the drivers will need to watch out for that. But we are, let's have a look, 11 minutes away from the start of the stage now, and anything could happen out there. Lots of emails have been coming in with predictions for the weekend ahead. You can send your predictions into radio@wrc.com and give it a shot if you want. I think it's going to be a very difficult top 3 to predict now. Our top 3 at the moment, Ogier, Solberg and Sordo. Will that be the same when we get even to the end of today? Still a lot of kilometres left today, and then when you look ahead to the rest of the events, or to the rest of the days rather, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, a very difficult day. We've got 148 competitive kilometres, separated by just a 15-minute remote service. So the guys have a lot of stages to go through before they hit just 15 minutes. So they don't want a huge amount of problems to go wrong anytime tomorrow morning. That service is around about 40 minutes away from where we are in Colmar. Now, Colin Clark's at the end of the stage for us. This is the first stage of the afternoon. Colin, are you there?
Yes, Bexy, yes, at the end of the stage, standing by in glorious, glorious sunshine. A beautiful afternoon.
It is a beautiful afternoon out there, isn't it? We're totally dry stages out there, you would have thought. Under the trees, maybe still a little bit damp, but are we going to see the problems this afternoon that we saw this morning? It was just carnage out there on stage 3.
It really was carnage. Well, you know, carnage because it involves our very top driver, Sebastian Loeb, and 2 of our other top drivers, obviously Mikko Hirvonen and Jari-Matti Latvala. So, yeah, I think we could still see some drama this afternoon. You know, they've tried desperately, the organisers, to get rid of this problem of gravel, well, mud as it was last year, being pulled onto the road. They put these stakes in place on the corners to discourage the drivers from cutting. Hasn't really worked, perhaps, as well as the organisers would have hoped. So I think this afternoon, Bex, there's going to be a lot of gravel out there. It's going to be very, very slippery indeed. And we're in for an interesting afternoon. My man to watch this afternoon is Danny Sordo. Sordo is out of sorts this morning, and he's still in third place, just a handful of seconds off the lead. Sordo comes out in the right frame of mind, Bexy. He could well be the man to watch.
No, he sounded pretty good at service. He was very happy with his morning. And even though things, you know, he said at the stage end maybe he wasn't feeling so great, he said the car was feeling great. He was looking forward to going back out there for another 4 stages. And, you know, when you look at him in the overall classifications, Cole, he's just 1.6 seconds adrift of second position overall. Danny Sordo could have a great run out there this afternoon. We'll be keeping an eye on the minis for sure. They're in third and fourth position. Fourth position, of course, at the hands of Chris Meek. But, Cole, we've got a guest in the studio with us. We're joined by co-driver Dale Moscat, who should be still out competing. Sadly, he's not. He's driving or co-driving for Yazid Al-Raji today. And you're here back in the service park, Dale. I'd like to see you at the stages, but why are you back?
Yeah, look, I'd like to still be at the stages as well, but unfortunately these things happen. As Colin's just mentioned, there is a lot of gravel in the stages. We did manage to negotiate our way through most of that, and unfortunately clipped the inside of the fountain in the middle of the village, and broke the power steering. So it's sort of what sees me back here in a lovely air-conditioned truck with you, but it's fantastic weather out there. The road conditions apart from that, gravel is absolutely fantastic. There's a huge amount of grip out there, and I know everybody talked last year about how slippery this rally is, and you've probably already mentioned in this weather, conditions are absolutely fantastic, barring those places where there's gravel out on the stage.
Now, how much gravel did you see? You said a lot of gravel. I mean, are we talking akin to being a gravel event deal? Is it that bad or not?
Yeah, a lot of places where the sticks were, and the sticks were there in the recce. So we did see those places. A lot of those places we had a don't cut, and you sort of know where these guys are and aren't going to cut the stages. But there was some places in there where even the organisers, you know, assumed that people weren't going to cut the corners, and we didn't think they would either. And certainly one of those places we didn't have in the notes, and I wouldn't have even known it was a tarmac road underneath it. There was so much gravel out there, and I think we were 30th car on the road or something like that, so an amazing amount of gravel.
Well, it's certainly going to be a difficult afternoon then, by the sounds of things. That we've had an amazing amount of cars go through the stages. You know, we had a total of, 64 cars start.
Yeah, I'm led to believe too, speaking with some people, I'm led to believe that between the first and the second passes this afternoon, the organisers are going back through the stages and standing up any sticks that have been knocked down as well.
Really?
So just chatting with Mikko Markela, Hannanen's co-driver, having some lunch there, and he said their puncture was from a steel stake.
It was.
So
I saw the damage to the car, went straight through that front bumper and into the tyre.
Absolutely. So I don't know how they're going to repair these places, or supposedly try and repair these places, and what impact that's going to have on everyone this afternoon. But you have to assume that those sticks are still up, and drive accordingly. So it should be an interesting afternoon.
Should be an interesting afternoon. Cole, you still with us? I
am, Bexy, and I have something we were talking about earlier on, this potential penalty for load. Have you cleared that up? Because there won't be one.
No. Yeah,
okay.
You have cleared it up, but yeah, you're right.
Okay. No, because basically what happens, if you change an engine between rallies, having completed the previous rally, then there's a penalty. If you retire from the rally and change your engine, that is allowed, even if the engine is linked to another rally. So if load were to say Super Rally, come back tomorrow, Super Rally, come back Sunday, and then just, say, for example, try and do the power stage, which would be, you'd have to do the whole assembly to do that, and then they change their engine after that, then there would be a penalty. But Loeb, as we understand it, may well have retired from the rally. That's his punishment, that's his penalty. They are then allowed, even if that engine's linked to another rally, they're allowed to change that with no penalty. That's our understanding.
We're still waiting to hear whether he will continue on or not. As soon as we do get that information in, we will let you know. But that was the drama of this morning. Of course, we're seeing Sebastian Loeb stopped on the long stage, the 36-kilometre stage, which caught out a lot of people. As soon as we hear any news on that, we will of course let you guys know out there. So we kick off with stage 5 this afternoon. Dale, do you want to give us a quick description of what that's going to be like?
Yeah, obviously it's a repeat of stage 1 this morning, around the 10-kilometre mark. It's through the middle of the vineyards, that stage. A lot of blind, unseen corners, obviously sitting down quite low in these rally cars in the height of those vines. And they're quite thick. I had a couple of grapes, pinched a couple of grapes where we stopped. So yeah, they're thick and full of fruit at this time of year, so it's quite blind and deceptive. There's also a gravel section in the middle of that stage. It's actually the gravel section that forked out Nassau Latia. Very, very fast. A lot of the cars, certainly behind the WRCs are running at 1 minute gaps. And the dust was horrendous for us. But the amount of gravel that you drag onto the tarmac once that gravel section's finished, all the braking and everything has to change. So it's going to be even more of a challenge certainly this afternoon than it was this morning.
Okay, well let's have a look. Just 7 minutes shy now of the first stage going live. You mentioned braking there. A few drivers, Mads Osberg springs to mind straight away. He was saying that he was kind of blaming himself being a bit, heavy on the foot, overcooking the brakes there, but very easy to do when you're braking into these cars.
It is very easy to do, and the reason that is because, as we talked about, with the gravel and with the cutting and all those sorts of things, normally on a rally you've got a fair idea of what sort of grip level you're going to have going into that corner, and part way through the corner, if that changes, your first instinct as a driver is always to lean your left foot on the brakes.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of temperature comes from that as well, and there's some very, very big straights and some very fast sections. I mean, certainly in the Super 2000 car, our top speed's around 165, and we would have been on the rev limiter for probably 20 seconds of that stage. So you are slowing down for some very, very terminal speeds.
The weather here is fantastic. It's very dry out there. Can you even imagine what it was like last year, Dale?
No, I certainly can't. I didn't think I'd be coming to France for a sun vacation after seeing the rally here last year.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people felt the same. I felt for Colin. He was at the stages. He thought at the end of the stages he thought it was Rally GB out there. And certainly, Cole, when the cars came back to service after the stages last year, it was like Rally GB, the state on the cars.
It was in place. We've got long stages here, and they were practically, by the time we were going for the second spec, they were practically full mud stages. It was just phenomenal. Remember, it is autumn time. A lot of leaves coming off the trees are starting to come off the trees. You combine that with all the mud on the cuts, soft cuts, and it was incredible. Such different conditions this year. The conditions couldn't be more different from what they were last year.
Yeah, there's a stage which actually runs tomorrow, stage 11. Munster is what we all know the stage as, and there's sections. It finishes quite high up near a ski village, and there's sections in there that it can be sunny for a week, and you're still not going to have a dry road in there.
Yeah,
always damp and under the trees.
It's 1,000 metres up that stop line. 1,000 metres up, 3,500 feet that stop line, and that's why here yesterday, and the temperature in the valley 29 degrees, the temperature on that stop line 16 degrees. So that shows you, the difference in altitude. It affects the conditions. Beautiful in the service park, but still under the trees, on the top, chilly road surface and damp patch. I think we'll find that tomorrow, Bex.
Yeah, I think we are going to find that. It's going to be an interesting day too, that's for sure. But we're still not done with day one yet, guys. What else is today going to throw at us is the question.
It's a disaster because he has his two direct rivals still in the event. But Sébastien Ogier is driving for us. He's driving a Citroën. He's driving for manufacturer points. And the biggest client is Mikko because he's the closest to Sébastien. So if he can be in front of Mikko, then he helps us in both championships. So we're going to do everything that we can to help Sébastien Ogier to win this rally.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
Bit unfortunate incidents with Henning. I mean, he was warming. He went in front of us before the start, and we were starting in front of him, so we had to get past him. And basically, the road was more or less straight, and he was warming up his tires, and probably didn't know that we are behind. And once he started to go straight line, I was planning to go past him, but then I was pretty close, and he started to suddenly warm his brakes, and I didn't have a chance to avoid him, and I hit him on the rear, and we broke the steering and went off the road. So that was it. Really, not really anybody's fault. We both could have done different things to avoid it, but unfortunately it happened, and that's it really.
Bit of a surprise for both of you, I guess. Did you have a word with Henning afterwards?
I mean, he stopped to see that nothing happened to us because it was a little bit higher speed than just the first gear. But I mean, he was also in a hurry to start the stage. So, like I said, an unfortunate thing, and he didn't see us in the mirrors, and that's it.
A little bit embarrassing, frustrating. I mean, how do you sum up?
jatkuu. Lyhyt vasen täysylinippy 6. Pitkä oikea täys miinus 160. Vasen täys 6. Oikea täys sisältä huomio 130. Oikea nopee. Heti vasen loiva reikä sisällä. Jarru 6. Oikea tosi hidas risteys tiukka kapenee. 5. Vasen tosi hidas tiukka. 3. Oikea vasen nopea oijo. Jatkuu lyhyt vasen loiva sisältä. Jarru 7. Oikea tosi hidas risteys tiukka tolppa. 300. Huomio. Vasen vähän soraa. Jarru 2. Oikein tosi hidas risteys. Tiukka. Ahdas. 8. Pikkunippy täys ja lyhyt vasen täysylinippy soralle. 130.
The roads here in France, you know, we talk about tarmac rallies. When we go to Spain, you're on roads in the mountains, but also roads that are being used on a daily basis. These are kind of like farm roads in a sense, or certainly from what we're seeing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, sorry to those people at home. We'll try and paint as good a picture as we can. Hopefully everybody's watching. But yeah, Mikko struggling to get that car pulled up at that junction there. That's where Nassau went off this morning. A lot of gravel dragged on and grass as well. But look at the speeds that they're doing now. Like the guys are well up into the 6th gear as he starts to brake and try and pull it up for the bend at the end there.
Okay, this stage is 9.68 kilometres in length, and Colin Clark is at the end of the stage for us. He's going to be chatting to all the drivers as they make their way through. You were there this morning, Col. Fastest time this morning was Loeb's, of course, 5 minutes 41.7. Interesting to see who posts the fastest time this time around.
It will be very interesting indeed. It'll be interesting to see how Harvin copes. He will be cleaning the stages. He'll be cleaning certainly the bends where those poles aren't stopping them from cutting back, and that would have been the job this afternoon. It's Harvin's job now, and it'll be interesting to see how he copes with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult kind of balance for both, I guess. Mikko Hevonen, who needs to make up that time. Sebastian Ogier especially, you know, we caught up with Ogier in service, Colin, and he said, you know, I do not want to make the same mistake that I made in Australia, and he's very conscious of that. So you can imagine that is going to be preying on his mind a little bit, but of course he wants to keep the lead. He wants to get the maximum points he possibly can, because his championship essentially is back on.
Absolutely. Betsy, listen, if Loeb doesn't restart and Ogier does this rally, wins the power stage, 28 points, he's a point behind Sebastian Loeb going on to a day of gravel. A day of gravel, remember, in Spain. Yeah. It is big time back on for Sebastian Ogier if he wins this event. But as he said, you know, he had that opportunity. It's very points in Australia a few weeks ago. Going into the second, the afternoon stages on the first day, it looked good for Ogier. He pinged it off the road at that point. He will be, I think, under a bit of pressure here, Bexley, to keep it nice and steady and to keep the lead, because, as I said, Solberg's right there. Sordo, I think, could be a threat, and bit of pressure on young Mr. Ogier.
That would be the absolute dream for him. To go into Spain 1 point behind, he'd probably prefer to be one behind than one.
Absolutely.
So going on the gravel, Sebastian having to go first on that gravel day, knowing that at the end of the day, if you're in front of him, you're now on tarmac.
And guys, and don't forget, Dale, there's a very real chance. I think Harvinen will get at least 4th place this weekend again if he keeps it on the road. Harvinen with a couple of points, a 4th place, few points in the power stage. Harvinen will be a point or two behind Sebastian Loeb. We could have 3 drivers going to Spain within 2 or 3 points of each other. Oh, doesn't get much better.
It doesn't get much better.
You're going to have to get some heart pills before you get to Spain there, Colin.
I think so. The excitement could be a bit too much. It's amazing how much gravel you can see from the stage, and the footage that we're seeing that is being dragged on through cuts just at the side of the road.
Just down this hill here as well. You watch, there's a couple of tight junctions, and the insides, like, you just take a little bit on the inside, so that means the next guy behind gets the understeer on the way in through the middle of the corner and loses time on the way out of the corner. Where do you make the most time in a rally? Out of the corners onto the next straight. So it's multiplying every car that goes through.
Okay, Mikko Hevonen should be heading towards the closing section of this stage shortly.
Well, if Harvinen's throwing his car around the way the helicopter pilot is throwing his helicopter around trying to chase Mikko Harvinen, then Harvinen's doing something special out there. You must be seeing some great shots from that helicopter, Bex, because he's only 40 feet above the stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The shots that are coming through are amazing from the helicopter. We've got a split in as well for the stage, so this is coming in at 6.54 kilometres in length. Sebastian Ogier 1.8 quicker than Hirvonen at that split point. Now we're following the car of Sebastian Ogier. Give us a shout when you have Mikko with you.
He's here, Bexy.
Okay, we're waiting for a time to go on the board. 5:45.7 for Hirvonen.
Okay, Hirvonen's job this afternoon, clearly, to get past Osberg. He will do that. Then, potentially to start reeling in Chris Meek. He is. Oh, how far behind Chris Meek? He's about 30-odd seconds. That'll be his job for the afternoon. Let's hear from him.
Mikko, there was a morning of frustration for you. Now first on the road in the afternoon, nice sunshine. How's it going?
Okay, yeah. Right, but car is really good now. Now I'm really happy with the car, so just need to find a good rhythm for myself, and you know, we'll be okay.
Well, there we go. So it came on for Mikko Hirvonen in his pursuit of Chris Meek this afternoon. All good in his matte black Ford Fiat.
And I tell you, Colin, while you were just interviewing them there, Ogier has come through massive straight. Like, these guys would be almost at terminal velocity in this car. A really tight hairpin with a narrow exit and a ditch on the outside, and Sebastian Ogier was very close to going wide.
Yes. Well, you know, I think I was hearing that quite a few of our Fiesta drivers had problems with that corner. A long straight, lots of speed into a tight left. I think a few of our Fiesta boys had problems there this morning, Bexy.
Yeah, I think they did. I think a lot of people had various problems on this opening stage this morning. We're just continuing to watch Sebastian Ogier's car as he belts through. Obviously on the split we had, he was 1.8 up on Mikko Hirvonen. So we should see a really good time coming through from Ogier on this one. He's not too far away from you.
Nice and tidy around that last bend there.
And he's through the board, so we should have a time coming onto the board for Sebastian Ogier, who is of course in the lead of this rally going into this stage.
What's on the roof of his car? What's happened here? His air intake vent has shattered on the roof. Something's hit that and shattered that. Maybe, I don't know what's happened there. It's almost as if it's been peeled back. That air intake vent on the roof of his car. Other than that, no.
Okay, he's 3 seconds up from Hirvonen, a time for Ogier of 5:42.7.
All right, here we go. Rally leader, Ogier, let's hear from him.
Sebastian, just as you were coming to the finish, we could see the roof vent is missing. What happened?
What is missing?
The roof vent.
That was the noise. I don't know. There was a strange noise during the stage. I don't know why.
You hit nothing? You went nothing?
No, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. How was the stage then?
Yeah, okay. It's not my favorite one. It's a bit dirty, and I didn't push so much. I will try after.
Okay, 5:42.7 as you say, 3 seconds quicker than Mikko Hirvonen. We'll be watching with interest of Peter Solberg.
I hope he wasn't suggesting that strange noise is Julian.
I'm sure he wasn't.
From the car.
A co-driver always takes that to heart. We do have Dale Moscat, the legendary Australian co-driver, in the studio with me, just watching the footage, the pictures that you will be able to see on WRC.com live streaming of this stage. We're on board with the Jari-Matti Latvala at the moment. Just watching him as he makes his way through the 5th stage overall. It's incredible to see and to feel. It feels as if you are on board with him with this camera. The speeds that they're picking up out there.
Yeah, blinding time from him on the last stage this morning. He's obviously proved that the Ford is fast on tarmac. There's no question about that. The boys are getting their act together now, and hopefully having to fight back. We'll bring the best out in those guys.
Okay, let's just go and see if we can pick up a time for the boys then. The split that we have from Latvala is 1.4, Colin, down from Ogier. A bit of a moment there from Peter Solberg.
He's cut that corner and hit something on the way through there.
Okay.
Let's hear from Latvala first. 2.1 slower than Ogier, Cole.
Okay, let's hear from him. Got any concerns? As you say, the previous stage, the stage before lunch, cracking stage for Latvala. Not quite so, but let's hear from him in 1 second. Just as our cameraman gets himself in place. We all get ourselves in place. Here we go.
20. Jari quick through here this morning as well. Again, so too bad. You obviously just got to get through the other ones without any problems.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we lost quite a lot of time now, the third race this morning, but you never know. We still need to get through the stages. It's not easy, you know. There's a bouncer risk and everything, so okay, we will see what happens.
Yeah, Latvala still knows back that anything can happen to the boys in front of him. The puncture risk is a real risk, particularly as those stakes start to move and they're out of the way, the drivers start to take the cuts over those ragged edges of the tarmac. Puncture's a real possibility.
We're watching Petter Solberg as he makes his way through the stage, and Colin, he is putting some risk out there. The cuts that he is taking, they're just kind of breathtaking.
With those cuts, as you talked about, Colin, there's a big potential for getting punctures, and taking the size and the depth of the cuts that he's taking now, he's just increasing that risk for himself. But you know, it's always a gamble, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a gamble, but you know, Solberg with a real chance of taking a win here, and you know, we all expected Petter Solberg to win again at some point. You know, way back in 2005 when he won, what was it, Rally Mexico. We didn't think we'd still be talking about him waiting for his next win here in France, Mexico. But a chance he could win this one, and a real chance he could win it. So that's why he's going for it, clearly not waiting and see how things pan out over the course of the weekend. He's just pushing on.
Okay, let's wait for his time to go on the board, and he completes 2.7 seconds adrift of Ogier's time, 0.6 behind Jari-Matti Latvala. So Ogier still the quickest driver, 5 minutes 42.7 is the time to beat.
Extending his lead, just over 7.5 seconds now. Ogier over Petter Solberg. Let's go and have a word with Petter. Everyone on hard tyres this afternoon. No question about that. The temperature is up, probably around 24 degrees or so. Let's have a word with Petter. In just 1 second.
Quite a hot work out there. You're just getting a bottle of water. Are you happy with that stage time?
Yeah, I am. I'm happy. It's a small problem on the front left side. I don't get proper feeling, but well, I will do something else between the next stage because it's not perfect yet.
What do you think it is?
Maybe something damper. I don't know. I will talk to my engineer on the road now.
Yeah, that's a bit of a concern, Beggs, with 3 long stages still to come. Perhaps a front left damper problem for Solberg. We'll find out as he gets through the next stage.
We're just watching Brother Henning as he makes his way through, and the same cut that that Petter took. He was middle of the road, not taking the cut. But we've just seen it, you know, an interesting shot, Colin, from the bumper of the car, pretty much, and it's amazing the amount of gravel that is getting thrown up and out of these cuts.
Yeah, and don't forget there is a gravel section within this stage back there. I'm assuming you are on a tarmac section.
Yeah, we were on the tarmac section then, but we're into the gravel section
Colin,
now.
spot on timing though, Colin, because Henning just has gone on to that gravel section as you said that. So yeah, you're correct. It's probably about 700 metres of gravel and very, very fast, but then having to brake from that speed, so quite difficult.
Okay, let me just have a look at the front right on Matt Duisberg's car. No, it's okay. Maybe there was a slight problem there, but no real issue.
546.4 for Rosberg.
6.4, he's going to be delighted with that, I'm sure. He's going to be delighted. That's very close to the pace at the top. Rosberg is getting there.
Matt, I just saw your time click up on the screen. It's now up on the 4th. You must be delighted with that.
Yeah, I like this stage because it's tarmac and a little bit of gravel, which I like, so I can do some sliding, and not that much of gravel on the cut, so you can really drive without concerning of slipping out in the corners. And that's one of my biggest issues on tarmac. It's not the driving, but it's really the cuts and the gravel on the road because you need to be so accurate on hitting the lines, because if you miss it by 10 centimeters you're out in the loop, and I don't have the confidence to do that yet, but I have confidence enough to drive on a stage like this, so yeah, it's good to see that I'm not far away when it's just tarmac, but I need to learn the cutting.
Well, Bex, I'd have to say I saw Morten Osberg, Matt's dad, he's doing safety notes for him, and he said to me just before the stage started, he said, you watch my boy next year, he'll be matching time with Ogier and Loeb on tarmac. Big expectations.
He has got big expectations, but Mads' confidence is growing. We caught up with his co-driver Jonas Andersen during the service break, and he said, you know, just from this morning I can feel him getting more confident. He said, you know, we're going to set some good times out there this afternoon. One down, you know, they've already set a great time on that one. 5:46.4 is just 3.7 seconds off the pace of Ogier.
Yeah, and what Mads is talking about there also, we would have seen some footage of Henning going through before, and he's a full car width inside the corner. It's a very fast corner, you make up more when you cut those ones.
Okay, Matthew Wilson's in. Tidy morning for him. On soft tyres, Wilson this morning. Let's have a look. He surprised us before. Remember in Germany he went out on softs in the afternoon when everyone was on hards, but no, it's hard compound for Matthew this afternoon. Let's hear from him.
Matthew's son's out driving a rally car, but pulled a face there as if maybe it could have been a little bit better, I don't know.
Yeah, it was gone quite well. I mean, I think it was 7 k's, we were on the 3 off Matt, but then we had one on a junction and didn't stall the engine, but just stopped all the revs and then had to accelerate. So yeah, we lost quite a bit of time there.
Yeah, so not too bad. Around a half spin for Matthew Wilson in there, Becky.
Okay, time for Wilson then of 5:55.2. That's 12.5 seconds adrift of Sébastien Ogier's fastest time through the stage.
Okie dokie.
Six drivers have completed so far then. Sébastien Ogier in the lead of the event. He's extended his lead over Petter Solberg. 7.7 seconds is Ogier's lead over Petter Solberg. And we're waiting now for Henning Solberg to come through the stage. We've been watching him as he's been making his way through on the live footage.
Yeah, obviously for a manufacturer team, you have the benefit of those gravel crews, like Colin was talking about with Mads' father before.
Yeah.
So some of these guys are benefiting from that, but the guys just a little bit further back, but still in the world cars, aren't allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So it can make a big difference. They know where the stakes are being put back up, where they haven't, where they can take the cuts, where they haven't, where the extra gravel is as well. So the next stage is got a lot too. Isn't it great to see these minis back?
It certainly is. Let's hear from Henning Solberg, then we'll come back to the mini of Danny Sordo that we're watching right now, looking absolutely fantastic on the stage. But Henning through, Cole, 5:49 exactly for Henning.
Yeah, decent morning for Henning Solberg. Can be a bit heavy on the brake, Henning, but wasn't really complaining about that today. He did have a problem this morning, though I can't remember what it was. But let's have a word with him. He had an overshoot or a spin somewhere, didn't he? Here we go.
Henning, you'd be a lot happy with that time this time round, a 49.0. Closer to the boys, you happy now?
Yeah, I'm more happy, but I don't have any ground crew, so I don't know where the pins is away. I lose a lot because some pins is there and some pins is away, so I have to wait before I see if I can cut or not.
How difficult is that with the mind? What is it like thinking about this in the mind?
What did he say?
When you're looking, do you cut, do you not cut? Because you don't know. What is it linking?
It's very difficult, I have to say, so but I try my best.
Yeah, don't forget, safety crews only allowed for manufacturer entries, and this weekend Henning Solberg isn't a manufacturer entry. We've seen him driving as part of the Stobart team before, but not this weekend, Becky, so no safety crew for Solberg. Pretty difficult without one.
Okay, Henning's time, as we said, then 5 minutes 49 seconds through there. 7 drivers are through. Ogier leads the stage and the rally. Time to beat 5 minutes 42.7. Let's just take a look at the splits. We've got Danny Sordo within the stage. We saw some great times coming through from him this morning. But in comparison to Ogier, the split we have from Sordo, this is at nearly 7 kilometres in. He's 3 seconds down from Ogier at that point. We've been watching the mini making its way through the stage. It's looking good, I have to say, from the shots we're seeing.
I was going to say it looks $1 million, but it's probably more than that.
Maybe. Certainly more than I can afford anyway. Danny Sordo, though, through and at the stop line. Let's hear from him with Colin.
Okay, now he'll be looking at Solberg's time, I suppose. He was 1.6 behind Solberg.
5:45 exactly, Colin.
5:45. Now, what was Solberg's
just
time?
Ahead of Solberg by 0.4.
Good. Well, that'll do him. He's down now to 1.2 behind Solberg. Let's hear from Sordo.
Danny, a great time in there again. 1.2 now behind Solberg. like, I don't like a lot this stage before we do a bad time, so we'll wait for the next one. Went quickly, the forces still come back with the time, so it's okay. But I don't like this stage, and it's easy to make a mistake with Puncture, so need to go flat in the next one.
Oh, very sensible stuff indeed from Danny Sordo. Just making sure he gets through the stage. He doesn't like the attack. Will come from Sordo to the next three.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're going to see a really full-on attack from him. 1.2 seconds is all it is now. Danny Sordo in third position overall, and 1.2 behind Petter Solberg, who's in second. Danny Sordo is very good at controlling himself as well. He knows how far to go. We saw a great result from him in Germany. And let's see how much more speed he can put on through the stages this afternoon.
Just watching Dennis Kuipers come through the stage here, there was actually ruts around that corner on a tarmac rally. Obviously we're on a gravel section at the moment, but that's how different it is. Some places are absolutely full gravel.
Yeah, incredibly difficult. We talked about the risk of punctures this afternoon. Colin's been chatting about that as well. We've, touch wood, it's been a clean run so far from the guys. We haven't heard anything about punctures on the way through. Nobody's come through with any dramas as of yet. But the amount of gravel which has come out of these cuts, I'm actually surprised to see that amount there.
There's a lot of big ditches on the outside, as you can see, as you're coming through some of these sections as well. So if you get it wrong and you go off and hit one of those ditches, there's no way your tyre's going to stay on either. So it's hitting things, it's going off the road. There's just obstacles everywhere through these stages.
Okay, 8 drivers in so far then. We'll wait now for the time of Khalid Al-Qasimi to go on the board. 5 minutes 57.2 Khalid has just completed. 14.5 seconds adrift of the pace of Ogier.
Big smile on Khaled's face. I think he's quite enjoyed that in there. So having a little joke, a little word with his co-driver Michael Orr. Okay, come on, Julian Porter. The guru, Julian Porter. I've upset him, Bexley. Anyway, here we go.
It's not the first time.
It's not. Won't be the last. Here we go. Let's hear from Khalid and Julian.
Khalid, a huge smile on your face at the finish of that stage. Why is that?
In a very slow corner, almost midway in the stage, we slided in a very tight corner, as I said, and we hit a rock, and we thought that we lost the pack or a big puncture. I don't know if there is damage in the car. Oh, fine. So I was just saying, Michael, it was really close.
So close to a very big moment, no real damage. Quite often you can see stuff marks. Let me just check the right side of the car, the real right looks fine as well. So Khaled's got to win that one, Bexley.
That'll be the rear left there, Colin. I reckon there was already some green paint from our car on that rock. I know exactly where he's talking about.
So you came into contact with that rock this morning then?
We did have a little altercation with that rock. It's just a small touch.
Dale was co-driving for Yazid Al-Raji, and unfortunately it all came to an end on stage 2. Was it stage 2 this morning?
Yeah, midway through stage 2, yeah.
Which is why Dale is now in commentary position with us, watching the footage as it comes in from the opening stage this afternoon, stage 5 overall. Another 3 stages to go after this. This stage, 9.68 kilometres in length, got underway at 13:23. Next stage for us going live at 13:49. So we'll be moving on to the very next stage. Colin, you're staying at the end of this one for a little bit longer, yeah?
Yeah, no, we're staying here for a fair bit longer, Bexley. Certainly down to Kenny Block. Maybe 1 or 2 more. Might just stay for Novikov this time because we had a little bit of time. We're then going on to the penultimate stage to do 3 cars, unfortunately. Just the top 3 at the penultimate stage, missing the second stage in the loop, going to the penultimate, and then all of our cars at the final stage of the loop.
Okay, excellent stuff. Who have you got with you now?
Wrong on the long stage for both of our guys. They both made a mistake. Fortunately, they haven't lost too much time, and there's been no real damage to the car. So we're still in, we're still in with a chance of, gaining certainly some time back. But yeah, not the best of starts. I mean, great performance by both the guys, but just both made little mistakes, which has cost them quite dear.
After all the problems Sebastian Loeb has had this morning, this is the perfect opportunity for you guys to bounce back and take a charge in this championship.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mikko is obviously really annoyed with himself because it wasn't a great opportunity. But we just said, look, there's still 2.5 days to go on this event, and I'm sure the key thing now is basically just staying out of trouble, trying to keep on a clean line, trying to avoid any mistakes and punches or anything like that.
You talk about punctures.
watching Colin, just to let you know, we're already moving on to the next stage. We're staying with you though with the news in stage 5. Stage 6 is getting underway. But in terms of the differences now between our drivers, Sebastian Ogier in the lead by 7.7 seconds now over Petter Solberg. Overall, we're waiting, of course, for some more drivers to make their way through stage 5. Chris Meek was in 4th position going into this one. But Mikko Hirvonen and Colin already on the start line now of stage 6 overall. That is 15.45 kilometres in length. And it's live.
Okay.
So we'll be following... Yeah, we're back with you at the stage end. Armando Araujo.
Having his best rally in a long time. He's getting out the car straight away. I wonder... Oh, whether Araujo's maybe hit that rock as well, having a kick up the rear left and a good long hard look at it. Thumbs up though. I think he's quite happy that there's not any damage to the suspension. Araujo worried about suspension damage. He's having his best rally in a long time, Araujo. Having a good old look at it. Let's grab a word with him in just 1 second while you watch Hirvonen off the start line of the next stage. We will grab a quick word with our Portuguese friend. Julian just standing by, boys. We're going to get a word with him. In we go. Let's go. Find out what that concern was from Araujo.
Armando, what is the problem you're looking at? We hit one rock in the middle of the stage in one hairpin, but I think everything is okay. I start feeling a strange noise, but I hope everything's okay.
There we go, Dale. That could be your rock again.
Yeah, as I said, for a lot of these guys, the first time they came through, it probably wasn't that slippery.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more stuff dragged out, and as I said, and you mentioned before, Colin, these guys like Amundo don't have a gravel crew, so they don't have the benefit of that, so that's probably what's caught him out.
Just watching Mikko Hirvonen, who's well into stage 6 overall now, very much an open landscape like the previous stage through the vineyards, but a little bit longer this one. What can you tell us about this stage, Del?
Yeah, they're just coming up to a section now. They're going to head left, immediately turn right out onto a big, nice open road. Fantastic grip through this next section here. Really, really good grip as they start to head down under a tunnel or a little train bridge here. Round to the left and then pick up some speed. Look at the length of this straight as we come up through here. The guys are going to be absolutely on it.
And they need to be. They want to make up as much time as they possibly can now for Mikko to take as many points away from France. A long, long way to go in this event. Yet, though, Sebastian Ogier off the start line now, but we're still with Colin Clark at the end of stage 5. Peter van Merkstein has just completed that stage, 5:55.3. Let's hear from Peter van Merkstein.
Sorry. Right back to X. Concentrate. Just find me occasionally to concentrate, Maxie. Just remind me. Here, Peter van Merkstein's in. Let's hear from him. Interesting morning. 3 spins for him this morning.
Really, I had a spin in this morning. The afternoon started better. Yeah, as I said before, every stage I had something. Most of the time spin. And this was my first stage without. So I'm really... now it only can go better. And now actually it's rest now.
Good. Yeah, getting some good time in the car. It's been a difficult season for him, Bexy, but he's putting together a few decent finishes. And, yep, getting to know that car, pushing on a little bit more.
Yeah, he told us in Germany, you know, he wanted to see progress from his driving. Because I asked him, will we see him in 2012? He said, if I see progress in my driving, if I'm getting better, if I'm getting stronger, then yes, I'll come back. But if I see no difference, then I'm not. And then he completes the rally in Germany. He was more than happy with the pace that he had there. And we're seeing a good rally being put together by him now. So good stuff from Peter van Merkstein. First split we've got then on stage 6. The opening split coming in at 1.32 kilometres. Ogier against Hirvonen, Ogier 0.6 up. So it's not a great distance into the stage. Second split coming in at just shy of 6 kilometres, so we'll see what the difference is there. But we're watching some shots of Sebastian Ogier as he makes his way through the stage now.
Yeah, he's just coming up to this section now under that same bridge we talked about. Then they get to an absolutely massive straight just up here. Duck back out, a couple little junctions, and then in through the middle of a village, and it's quite a tight little village, slippery, bumpy, some nasty little bits up a hill. So
yeah,
it really does for you know what we class as a small stage compared to the next one that's 36. It's got a bit of everything this stage. I mean, look at the length of that straight now.
No, incredible. They can pick up a huge amount of speed here. Ken Block is making his way now to the end of stage 5. That's where Colin is. Let's cross back to stage 5, see how Ken Block's feeling after that one.
I think he's doing really well this weekend back there. He didn't last too long here last year. Had quite an early off, I think. The days were reversed last year. Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday with snow. Friday was Saturday was Friday. Does that make sense? Well, keep him, Ken.
Ken, this morning that decision to take hard tires really paid off. It was a great call. How's the afternoon started?
Yeah, pretty good. I shaved about 9 seconds off my morning time, so even with the pollution, I was able to be quicker. So it feels great. Just really stoked on the car setup and how fun these stages are today.
Look at that, Ogier is doing 42.7. You're only 8 seconds off Ogier.
Well, you know what, that feels really good. I feel so much more confident in the car today. It feels really good. Germany was just kind of a nightmare for me, so it feels so good to actually be able to push and feel confident in what I'm doing with the car.
It's a great time from Kenny Block. He is the best of the rest of them at that time. 5:50.7 for Kenny Block.
Take my glasses today.
Half your glass. Oh, back there!
Comment about my glasses.
Oh, I'm the luckiest man in rally.
Has he given you his glasses?
He has. No, yes, he has. I'm putting them on. I'm putting them on.
Do you know what, Colin? I can finally wear the ones that I got in Australia now, but I didn't want to wear them because I knew you'd be jealous. That's a great time from Ken Block, though. He said at service that he was feeling good, everything was feeling okay with the car. It's come through to a great time there. Chris Meek has just completed now. Chris Meek in 4th position overall, so we're watching the coverage on stage 6, but we're with Colin Clark at the end of stage 5, just listening to the drivers. I think Chris Meek is going to be the last car, is it, Cole?
We might do 2 more. We might do down to Novikov, but I'm looking in the mirrored back window of Chris Meek's car. These Kens look gorgeous on me. And let's hear from Chris Meek. Oh, I think there's maybe going on again. Let's find out.
5:49.4, 8th quickest through.
Dear man who shows emotion, and you can take it. The point one went on.
Yeah, I just missed my apex in a couple of junctions, slippy junctions, and under-steered out. And yeah, it's all about getting when you have a 300 or 400 metres straight after, you lose so much. Yeah, it wasn't a clean stage for me.
It's perfection every time.
Yeah, it has to be at this level. So, but yeah, we're getting there. Okay, we'll see how the next stages go. Obviously, we've seen a lot of gravel earlier on. There's going to be even more this afternoon, and these bowls to create havoc. So yeah, we'll just try and stay clean in this loop, and hopefully we can get a decent road position tomorrow.
Well, Chris Meek Bexley with an advantage over Mikko Harvinen going into this stage. Remember, Mads Osberg's in between. Mikko Harvinen 1 second off the bit there.
It's interesting to watch on the footage we're seeing from this stage. It's got a bit of everything. We go through the vineyards, through a small town, and then it's kind of moving its way uphill through the trees, through the forest, very undercover. Mikko Hirvonen and Sebastian Ogier very evenly matched within this stage. Ogier just 0.9 of a second quicker than Hirvonen at the 6 kilometre marker in this one. So it's got a bit of everything this stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're watching. I think we're on board with Mikko Hirvonen right now. Well, Jari-Matti Latvala, Petter Solberg will be moving into the stage very shortly. Oh, they're in the stage, but we should be getting shots from them very shortly as well. Colin, you're staying for another 2 at your stage end?
Yeah, we're here for a couple more cars, Bexley.
Okay, that's fantastic. So Chris Meek was the last car we had at your stage. Daniel Oliveira should be your next car to come through. Then we'll have Yevgeny Novikov. So Oliveira making his way to the stop line now. Still transfixed by the onboard that we're seeing from Mikko Hirvonen's car.
Okay. Oh, gee whiz. Now, we'll try and persuade Daniel to take his helmet off because you can't really hear anything unless he does. He'll get him to take his helmet off. Okay, stand by, Bex. We're nearly in there. A little tight getting into some of these. Got to take my microphone, Joe.
Daniel, first stage of the afternoon, how did it go?
It's okay, we start to go a little bit fast now, but the stage and your race for me, try to be clean, don't make so much mistakes. We'll see what can do.
Let me go back to you.
Okay, thanks, Cole. That's Daniel Oliveira through. Mikko Hirvonen now completes stage 6. We should have a time on the board for him very soon, but as we said, he was very closely matched with Sebastian Ogier there. The splits we've got for Latvala and Solberg, Mads Osberg's into the stage as well. Let's have a look and compare them with Ogier. Solberg 2.5 seconds adrift of Ogier's time at almost 6Ks into the stage. And the final split we have for Hirvonen and Ogier, or rather Ogier against Hirvonen, Ogier 2.7 seconds quicker. So they've gone from evenly matched to Ogier very much in control. We're on board with Ogier now coming through the final section of the stage. You can see the shaded areas where the trees, the overhanging trees, is it damp in those sections? From the speeds we're seeing from Ogier, he is absolutely flying through this one.
Yeah, and as Colin mentioned before, I mean, this time of year there's a lot of leaves on the ground, and under those trees, if it is a little bit damp, and those leaves are slimy, so quite difficult conditions.
Let's cross back to stage 5 then with Cole.
Thanks, Becky. Danny Novikov. Very quick word with him. He had a puncture this morning in stage 4. So here we go, those openings. An easier day next to him again. A couple of big accidents, a huge accident in fact, in Australia for Novikov. Let's hear from him. That's the end of the 5th stage of the rally. It's a great time. You happy with that? Yes, it was good. Everything is fine, so no, the other puncture today in the morning was very bad for us. It was for the time, but for the moment, 5:48.8 for Novikov. Everything going well for him, Beckley. That's off to the penultimate stage. We'll see you then.
Okay, mate, we will hear from you from the end of what will be stage 7 overall, the 36 kilometres of that stage. That was Novikov at the end of stage 5. His time 5 minutes 48.8, 7th quickest overall.
Yeah, I did sort of the first tarmac event that Evgeny did. We did a rally in Czech a few years ago in an Evo 9 back in the production days, and he's a very, very good driver on tarmac. As I said, that was his first proper full rally on tarmac, but he's done a lot of go-karting and things growing up, and he has a very good feel for the car on tarmac, so I'd expect him to keep improving as the weekend goes on for sure.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at our classifications after that stage then. Just the top 3 at the moment. Sebastian Ogier in the lead, 7.7 seconds between himself and Petter Solberg. Danny Sordo is in 3rd with Chris Meek in 4th, Mads Osberg in 5th. We're on board with Mads Osberg and co-driver Jonas Andersson now. Set a good time on the opening stage of this loop, but obviously his confidence is starting to grow with every kilometre he gets under his belt. He really does want to improve on tarmac. He said he liked the gravel section in the opening stage where he could slide it round a bit. No gravel sections here.
No, there is a couple of little places for those people at home watching the footage now. Probably a kilometre from where we are now, he's going to come around a left-hand bend just up through those next houses you can see there. And we didn't expect any gravel to be on the road at all. So it's just going to pop up between these houses here. There's a left bend just after them. And we didn't expect anything there at all. That road was completely covered right there in gravel this morning. And there was marks off the outside where everyone had been off the road and had a little excursion into the ditches and things. So, yeah, as we discussed before, he does have a gravel crew. He would have known about that this afternoon. So hopefully having that extra confidence and having someone giving him a little bit of information, not so many question marks like Henning mentioned before, hopefully his confidence can keep growing.
Okay, let's see what times we've got on the board then for this stage. It's been completed by Mikko Hirvonen so far and Sebastian Ogier. Ogier's time 9 minutes 7.6 seconds. Mikko Hirvonen was 2.2 seconds behind that time. The Jari-Matti Latvala who completes next, but Ogier has set that bar, and it's up to the rest of the drivers to try and catch him. From the splits that we can see, there's nobody out there who is as quick as Sebastian Ogier. 9 minutes 7.6 then is that time to beat. Latvala's 1.3 seconds down from that time at the final split that we have. In regards to Mads Osberg, he's 3.2 seconds slower than Ogier at the second split point, coming in just shy of 6 kilometres into this stage. In total, this one is 15.45 kilometres in length. A good bit of preparation for the next one, which is double that, more than double that, 36 kilometres next.
Very, very tricky too. In the reconnaissance, it took us a long time to recce that stage.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, because it's 36 kilometres, but there's some very tricky bits where you're sort of having to go quite slow to make sure you've got all the information and got all those small things in. and some fast sections as well, quite obviously. But yeah, very, very difficult stage.
If you are just joining us, then we're on stage 6 out of a total of 23 here at the Rally de France. You're listening to World Rally Radio and hopefully watching live footage of the stage on WRC.com. We're on board with Mads Osberg as he makes his way through this stage. And we're watching the split times coming in. We've got our GPS tracking system very much up and running, charting all the drivers as they make their way through the stages.
As a male, I'm struggling to keep up with so many things and so many pieces of technology, but yeah, it's amazing sitting in here. This footage is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? It really gives everybody at home a good feel for exactly what's happening on the stages. Normally when you're talking, it's quite hard. We're trying to paint the best picture we
with
can.
Words, yeah.
Normally you are, sorry. But
you're normally reading some pace notes, Del Moscat.
Hopefully that's the case, yeah. But yeah, fantastic footage here, and it's great for everyone at home.
Any feedback you want to give us, that'd be fantastic. You can drop us a line at radio@wrc.com. Heading Solberg then, and Ilkka Minor, that's where we are now. They're making their way through the small town.
They're just heading up to our fountain here. Takes the hairpin left, hopefully around the outside of the fountain and not into the side of it. There it is. Now away we go. Little man in the house just there on the left tried to give me a bottle of wine before we left, and I was putting my helmet back on to try and continue further into the stage. Tried to fix the car, and the guy came up and threw a bottle of wine in our helmet holder.
Oh,
I said,
what
thanks,
a nice
buddy.
guy.
I'll come back for that on Monday. So.
What a nice guy. He'd obviously could see you were disappointed. We weren't going any further that day. Thought he'd cheer you up with a bottle of wine, and I'm sure it would have been a good bottle of wine. There's plenty of vineyards where these drivers are right now. They're heading through the vineyard section. Gone through that small town, then they go into an uphill section through the forests, under the trees, and then they pop out. We've got another time, 2 times on the board now. Jari-Matti Latvala has completed quicker than Sebastian Ogier. Look at that, the splits for Latvala all the way through, slower than Ogier, and at the lowest point, 2.5 down. Completes the stage 1.2 seconds quicker. Solberg the same, 2.7 seconds up on Ogier. Interesting to see if Ogier did have something towards the end of that stage.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that on the monitor, doesn't it? He was making some very good progress through the stage there. So yeah, maybe just a small mistake. We weren't on board with him at the end of the stage there, but maybe just a small overshoot somewhere, running a little bit wide.
Okay, let's have a look at the time differences then. Ogier, well, it's back to the way it was just after we came out of service. 5 seconds is the difference between Ogier and Solberg. In Ogier's favour, Ogier leads the rally. Petter Solberg in 2nd position overall. Now, Henning Solberg was keeping it pretty neat and tidy on the earlier stage. There was just one kind of wide that we saw from him, but it seems again to be quite neat from him.
Yeah, and as he was talking to Colin, and he was saying he doesn't have the benefit of those gravel crews, and that's probably why he's not taking as bigger cuts and not prepared to take that risk when he doesn't have all the information there. But certainly doing the best job he can and motoring along quite well at the moment.
It's hard even to imagine that, you know, that last year that the weather was just so very, very different. We're seeing dry stages here. We're seeing clean stages effectively to a point. Last year it was raining. There was so much mud being drawn onto these stages. The drivers came back to the first service on the Friday and they were just, you know, shaking their heads, glum faces, couldn't believe how slippery it was out there.
Yeah, Jari-Matti and Mika came to Australia a little bit earlier, and we had a game of golf before I left for Hungary, and they were asking me the tips on Coffs Harbour. So when we arrived here, not having done the rally myself last year, I said, hey, Jari-Matti, we've turned the favour. What's your thoughts on this rally? He said, I can't tell you. Last year we arrived here with winter coats. Everything was cold. The roads were completely damp. We have no idea what to expect for grip levels this year. So yeah, it really is like you're doing a completely different rally, and even your pace notes have changed this year because of those sticks on the inside of the corners, all that stuff. So basically, you're almost starting from scratch.
It's incredible to see the cameras that are very low down on the car, pretty much on the bumper, the shots that we're seeing, the speed that the cars are doing on the stage.
It looks fantastic, doesn't it? Look how close he's going to all those sticks sitting there on the inside. On the recce, those sticks had a small red top on them and you couldn't see where they were. It was very, very hard to see. The organisers have done a good job. They've gone and put some yellow advertising on top of all those sticks so we can see where they are now, a little bit clearer than in the recce. So, you know, I certainly do give the organisers credit for trying to implement something, trying to improve the conditions for everybody. because that was the biggest problem last year. It was changing all the time and degrading so much that it wasn't good for anyone, but it was certainly more unfair for those further down the field. So they're trying to do the right thing, and I think they're certainly taking some good steps towards that.
Okay, so on the overall classifications now then, with Mats Osberg through this stage, there has been a change around. Mikko Hirvonen has moved ahead of Mads Osberg in the overall classifications. The difference between them is 1.2 seconds. So Mikko Hirvonen moves up. He was kicking himself really after stage 3 earlier on, where just over 2 kilometres in he went off the road, lost around about 30 seconds all in total, and it dropped him down the standings. But he's trying to make up some of that time. It's going to be difficult. It's always difficult, isn't it, on a tarmac event when people are so evenly matched, to make up some big gaps of time.
Yeah, certainly. It's quite funny because you do have so much grip. So if you make a mistake and you slide wide, all of a sudden you have, a huge percentage less grip, whereas on the gravel, when you're sliding a little bit all the time, those little mistakes normally aren't punished so much on the timesheet.
Yeah.
Of course there's a risk of slipping completely off the road, but on the tarmac you certainly get punished for the wrong line, or certainly running a little bit wide.
We're on board now with Danny Sordo in the Mini. Now, some great times coming through from Danny Sordo. I'm loving the shot that we're getting. That we're able to see him changing gear. You can kind of, you obviously feel as if you're in the car. But we hoped he would go well here. We saw great result from him in Germany. He's got a lot of experience under his belt, Danny Sordo, and he seems to be taking very much everything in his stride this year. He's a very calm driver.
It looks absolutely fantastic, that car too. I actually did a few rallies a couple of years ago in Australia in a Mini on the tarmac, and maybe I have a soft spot for them, but I just think the car looks absolutely stunning, both inside and out. And if you want anyone who's capable of steering